Hi everyone! Welcome to Dive Beneath the Surface. My name is Jillian, and I am a second-year marine science student at Cal Poly. We are streaming footage from previous dives, and I will be telling you about it live. Please ask questions by typing them in the chat window, and our team of scientific divers will be answering them throughout the video. Today's topic is feeding behaviors. You're going to learn about many different animals and how they eat, from urchins to sharks. This live stream is about 10 minutes long. Afterward, you'll be able to access a recorded version of it. We also will post the same YouTube channel, a Spanish language spoken version of the program. Okay, let's go diving! These first clips are from an experiment off of Catalina Island with a type of fish called California sheephead. The white squares you see on the reef are called quadrats. They were put there by the scientific divers as part of their experiment. The sheephead are eating sea urchins, and the purpose of this experiment is to determine if urchins of different size are eaten by sheephead of different size. The scientists doing this experiment found out that large urchins are eaten by only large sheephead. Urchins have a hard outer skeleton called a test, and the fish has to have a mouth large and strong enough to crush it, so that is why the larger sheephead can only eat the larger urchins. This is important for us to know because usually the larger sheephead are the ones that are fished by people, which means that many of the sheephead that are left are too small to eat the big urchins. Urchins eat kelp, which is like a forest that is a home for many ocean animals. So when there are a few large sheephead and thus lots of large urchins, the urchins eat up the kelp forest and the rest of the animals are left without a home. We can fix this problem by asking fishermen and women to catch sheephead of all sizes, not just the big ones. One of the interesting things about sheephead is how different the males look from the females. The large black and red fish you see is a male, and the smaller dull pink fish swimming near it is female. Both of these fish are hunting urchins, but you can see that the large male is more territorial. He chases off the other fish before he takes his urchin and swims away. Now another large male is coming to take another urchin. Let's see how sea urchins eat. This is the mouth of a sea urchin, which is on the underside of its body. The mouth is called Aristotle's lantern because if you dissected it, it would look like a tiny lantern. This mouth has 5 teeth in a circle that scrape algae, like kelp, and other food off of rocks. You can also see its tube feet, which it uses for walking and for grabbing kelp and bringing it into its mouth. An urchin also has sharp spines sticking out all over its body. They are for protection and snaring loose kelp to eat. Here the urchin is walking across a surface. Since it does not have eyes, it is using its tube feet to sense where it is going and find its prey. It is getting ready to eat the snail in front of it. Watch as it crawls over the snail, where it will then use its mouth, the Aristotle's lantern, to scrape it off the rock and crunch it up. Oh look, a curious Garibaldi is here to check out the action. The Garibaldi is California's state fish. This is a green sea turtle. It has a saw-like beak for tearing algae off of the reef. There are 7 types of sea turtles in the world. Green sea turtles are the only ones that are herbivores as adults, meaning they eat seagrass, seaweed, and algae, but they do not eat animals. However, young green sea turtles are omnivores, which means that they eat plants and some animals too, like crabs and worms. If you have ever seen the movie Finding Nemo, you might recognize this fish. This is a clownfish, and it is swimming around and through the tentacles of an anemone. The anemone has stingers on its tentacles for catching and eating fish and crabs and other animals. But the clownfish has a thick mucus layer that protects it from being stung. The clownfish gets food by eating some of the leftovers from the anemone. It is also territorial and protects the anemone from other fish. These two animals live in a type of symbiotic relationship called mutualism, which means that each one helps the other one survive. This one is a parrotfish, a type of fish that is very important for coral reefs because they eat the algae that otherwise makes it different for corals to grow. They also sometimes eat the coral using their strong beak, and their poop after eating the coral is sand. That's right, some of the sand on our beaches is parrotfish poop. Thus, parrotfish keep both reefs and beaches healthy. These fish are called surgeonfish. They eat algae, and some of them even farm the algae on the reef by protecting an area and moving rocks out of the way. The surgeonfish swimming together in a school are searching for algae to eat, and they all dig in when they reach a good spot, as you can see them doing now. The larger blackfish are also surgeonfish. Each one protects a spot of reef where they farm algae to eat. The farmer surgeonfish are not happy that the schooling surgeonfish are eating their algae, but there are too many of them to stop them. Now you are about to see a shark feeding frenzy. To generate this frenzy, fish heads that were discarded from fisheries were put in a barrel and then tied to the bottom of the sea. This is what attracted all the sharks to come to the same place at once. Most of the sharks that you see in this video are nurse sharks, which can reach about 10 feet long. You might be wondering why these scuba divers are swimming so close to the sharks. But the sharks in this video are much more interested in eating the fish than they're interested in the divers nearby. While some of the things we see or hear makes it sound like sharks are just big, scary animals that attack humans, they actually are not very dangerous to people. Scuba diving near sharks is common, yet attacks are very rare. These sharks would not try to eat a person, and they would really only bite a person in self-defense if they are very startled, like if a person tries to touch or pull on the shark. It is not uncommon for divers to stumble upon nurse sharks sleeping under ledges, as they are able to stay perfectly still while they sleep, unlike many other types of sharks who have to keep swimming so that water travels through their gills. Even though these sharks are often found sleeping during the day and they may seem lazy, it is never a good idea to try to touch them, because that isn't safe for the person or for the shark. It is always better to observe from a distance without disturbing them, like these divers are doing. These sharks do most of their feeding in the twilight hours and nighttime, and their mouth works like a vacuum to eat fish, squid, and urchins, which they swallow whole. Alright everyone, that concludes our diving video for today. I'm now going to answer a few questions that we have. Wendy White asked, what are those white things? And the white things that she's asking about are called quadrats. Quadrats are the squares that are used by scientists to measure how many animals are on a reef. Crow White asked, what's that orange fish? The orange fish is called a Garibaldi, and that's California's state fish. One person asked, have you ever been eaten by a shark? Thank goodness, no, I have never been eaten by a shark, or attacked by a shark for that matter. And the last question I'm going to talk about is, why is the urchin's mouth called an Aristotle's lantern? And the answer to that is actually because it looks like a lantern. And an ancient philosopher named Aristotle was the first person to make that observation. All right, thank you all so much for participating in our virtual live dive today. As a reminder, you will be able to access a recorded version of this program on the Cal Poly DBS YouTube channel, and we will post on the same YouTube channel a Spanish language spoken version of the program. Thanks for scuba diving with us!